So we just had one of the best balance patches of all time. I'm sorry, I can't say that with a straight face. We just got a balance patch. I can say that with a straight face. So we just got a balance patch. We got a couple units that were buffed decently enough to take a look at. So this is the Dark Robo, which Dark Robo, he always did. His skill 3 didn't change. His skill 1 didn't change. Skill 3 does a lot of multi-hits, continuous damage. The Blade Crush right there is a strip. It's a low probability of stripping. It really does need to be increased probability of stripping if the enemy does not have any beneficial effects, if they didn't have them in the first place, or if he wound up stripping them and then attacks them after that, he will absorb the attack gauge. So sometimes actually works really nicely. And then he's got the skill 3, so a bunch of continuous damage. Skill 1 right here, as you see, he does an attack power buff over there, which in this specific instance, this is actually pretty decent against Douglas, because Douglas has so many debuffs. He can't cleanse every single debuff. But also with the Dark Robo will increase his attack power, which is actually pretty good at trying to get Douglas's passive to not activate, which Douglas's passive seems to not be activating at all in this instance. Blade Crush, AoE, strip attack gauge, strip attack gauge, strips beneficial effects, absorbs the attack gauge. So it's actually was working pretty decently in this match. Next match, different players, same basic strategy, also picking the Han in there, picking multiple strips, picking multiple sources of continuous damage, and then several different threats. I mean, the Han is a faster threat, but hoping to. So this was looking like it's a Swift Dark Robo and a Despair on the Water Striker. So it doesn't wind up cutting in enough over there. But you do see the attack gauge absorb on the Dark Robo. The attack gauge absorbed quite a decent amount. It didn't fully get another turn. Also, the Lulu didn't get stripped, but it's not a very high probability of actually landing the strips. It's multi-hits, but it's not a high probability of actually landing these things, so. And he gets the glancing hit debuff on everything. He gets 2 stuns. That was pretty significant. So they're just hoping to out-sustain at this point. They're hoping to out-sustain. They don't really have a whole lot of damage, right, with that with the opponent's side. He's just hoping to out-sustain. But there's a lot of turn cycling, man. There's a lot of turn cycling. As soon as the Dark Ninja, simple solution, but he doesn't land it because he got the glancing hit. So they did at least get the defense break on there, which is going to be nice. The Dark Robo can do a decent amount of damage since he has his own attack power buff. So that should be game at this point. But they were just hoping to out-sustain. They didn't really pick too many threats on the opponent's side, though. It's just a lot of turn cycling, a lot of continuous damage, even more continuous damage. But they picked the right things. Like the Lulu was a great pick into that. Another match of the same one that we saw, the same player that we saw in the last one. So it looks like they have 2 Swift units. They look like they have the Dark Robo on Swift, and also the Yenhong was probably on Swift as well. Let's see if they do get some attack gauge absorb on the Jian, and that was a big AoE continuous damage and sleep as well. They got 3 units slept, so that Anubis is not going to come back from the dead, and that's going to be GG on him. And then Lulu's just going to take all those continuous damage next time she gets a turn. That block beneficial effect is actually pretty decent against the Fire Lich, because then he has no crit buff, he has no attack power buff. It nerfs a lot of the damage that he potentially does, and also the continuous damage on him. He's going to keep taking turns, he's going to keep stealing turns, so you got a lot of continuous damage on him. He's going to just tick that off by him. He's just going to get ticked off by himself, is really what I'm trying to say. Next match, different player, not picking, everyone else is picking Dark Ninjas, not this guy. He's picking double Sylphs. These are things that I really need to build for Special League. Every time I'm trying to fight, like I have 4 stars left, I'm like, okay, I need a speed lead. Should have the Sylphs ruined. Don't have the Sylphs ruined. So that's my fault there. So strips absorb attack bar. 2 units here do absorb attack bar. The light Mystic Witch does absorb attack bar as well. Look at that. He didn't even have a defense break. This this El Sharion does so much damage. Continuous damage here. Do they get enough of the continuous? They didn't get that much continuous damage. Tyrant comes in like a boss. Attack gauge absorb. Linda does attack gauge absorb right there, as we see. I was mentioning both Linda and the Dark Robo F29, I believe is his name, do attack gauge absorb. So both with skill 2 as well. So at this point, just got to make sure that was just barely enough to kill. Sometimes I want his first skill to be a stun, the Dark Robo. It does attack power buff, which is nice, but I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, I really wish it stood, because the fire one does a stun. Anyway, let's take a look at the next match. Different player on the left-hand side now. He's going for the Dark Mystic Witch and the Robo F29, I believe, is that Robo. He's got the 2 speed leads. He's got the 2 Swift units, or I assume that they're the Ashir and the Robo F29 are both on Swift, I presume. Gets outsped. Actually, maybe they're not on Swift, because they got outsped and it looked like they still had some attack bar as well. So, do they get the double nuke, or does something cut in? No, they just get a violent proc. Okay, so something does cut in. Look, so that was a, that's stunned as well. So that was not on Swift. Does this one stun? Actually, it looks like they're both on despair. This player looks like they're both on despair. So they weren't even trying to outspeed. So they, well, I mean, they were, but they were just hoping to, I'm surprised they didn't ban the Chiwu then. But they did get a little bit lucky getting some of the stuns that they got. If they didn't get the stun on the Light Onimusha, this would have been a very different match if it went differently, guys. Player on the left-hand side, we've already seen before. Player on the right-hand side, Toxic Ciara Gianna combination. I say Toxic Ciara Gianna combination. There's toxic combinations on both sides. Both the LD5s get banned out. Very shocking. I'm surprised to see that. So at this point, though, they got a lot of threats if they actually land, which they do. They get some continuous damage. They get some sleeps. They go for the AoE decrease attack bar. Then they get so much more continuous damage. Also, with all those multi-hits from the Dark Robo, actually additional damage artifacts. Additional damage artifacts basically pretty good on anything in the current meta. With some exceptions, like maybe not Dragon Knights, but additional damage artifacts are actually pretty decent on the Dark Robo as well, and then some good accuracy. But you don't really have to put, he does an attack power buff, but you really don't have to put too much actual damage on him, because he does a lot of continuous damage, and he also has the opportunity to do a lot of additional damage. But the thing that we've seen here, so you can just do damage through those sources, not necessarily attack and crit rate and crit damage, but you can do that if you want to. The thing that we've seen here, though, throughout all the matches here, is that with the attack gauge absorb, that has actually made him meta. A lot of people running him on Swift. Fast Despair is also good for him, but we're actually seeing him being used. So, as we actually mentioned in the things that need to get buffed video that I did a couple days ago, buffing the skill 2 actually did wind up making these units more useful, these robos so far. I mean, we didn't do a video on the fire one or the wind one yet, but we will do some soon. Anyway, that's it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. He's actually more useful now. That's great. See you as always in the next one.